Right, okay. You lot, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can catch all of our videos. And if you're really interested in the Krays, join our private Facebook group, Krays Crime Lords of London. You'll find over 1,000 videos and thousands of images. We're moderated and friendly. Come and give us a try.
We had MPs and lords and churchmen in our pockets, but we never took advantage of the likes of MPs like Tom Dryburgh or lords like Effingham and Boothby. We could have done, though. Harold Wilson and his government knew they had to smash us, or in the end, we would destroy them. It really was them or us, and we were beginning to cause mayhem. They tried everything. They set the fraud squad on us, Scotland Yard, even the Inland Revenue. They thought the taxman would bring us down, just like they did Al Capone in America. But even that failed. It looked like we were indestructible. In the end, the police only brought us down because of the weakness of the men around us. And because of a pack of lies, in the end we were done, because the police were more corrupt than we were. Harold Wilson must have breathed a sigh of relief when we were put away. We scared him and his mates shitless. I remember going for a drink one night at Quaglino's, a club in the West End. I stood at the bar and noticed Harold Wilson was sat on the stool next to me talking to another man. Wilson looked round and saw me. He put his drink down and fucked off out. He couldn't get out quick enough. At that time, me and my brother Reg could have bought Harold Wilson and his bloody cabinet 10 times over. We had earned millions, and we gave most of it away to charity and to people who needed it. Me and Reg never worried about money. If we wanted it, we just went and got it. Going back to our childhood, we were poor, but we were happy. It was hard, but it was the same for everyone in the East End in those days. We were born on Tuesday, 24th October 1933, in Steeny Street in Hoxton, which is now called Shoreditch. Reggie was born at 8 in the morning, and I was born 10 minutes later. We were identical twins, except for a mole below the collar line on my neck. It was the only way you could tell us apart. We had an older brother, Charlie, who was born in 1927. We should also have had a sister. Our parents did have a daughter named Violet, after our mother, but she died when she was a baby. It would have been nice to have had a sister, but thousands of kids died in the East End in those pre-war days. I read somewhere that out of every 1,000 kids born, more than 100 never reached their 5th birthday. Pneumonia and tuberculosis were the biggest killers, and diphtheria and malnutrition caused a lot of deaths. Both me and Reg caught diphtheria when we were quite young. Reggie recovered okay, but our mother was really worried about me, and she brought me home from hospital and nursed me herself. Before the war, we moved from Hoxton, 1 mile south across the Hackney Road, to 178 Valence Road in Bethnal Green. Number 178 isn't there anymore. They knocked it down for new development, but it was a little bit bigger and better than our other house. It was just part of a terrace, but we always thought it was a lucky house. I can remember it had a big coal fire in the kitchen, which we used to sit in front of while our mother did the ironing. I can remember the big viaducts covered in soot moat which stood above all the houses. I can remember the trains which used to go along the lines at the end of our backyard on their way in and out of Liverpool Street Station. And I can also remember lying in bed early in the mornings in the back bedroom. Me and Reg used to share listening to our mum singing in the backyard as she hung out the washing. She had a lovely voice. Our mother was always happy, even though she had to struggle so hard, and times were really bad for us and the other families in the East End. Our father was called Charles, though everyone knew him as Charlie. He made his living as what they called a pesterer. He would go around the better areas buying bits of gold and silver and sometimes clothing, which he would then resell for profit. He was very good at it. Our parents weren't what you'd call religious, but they did encourage me and Reg to pray. We would pray for the sick and the suffering and the weak people all over the world, and for our family and friends. Over the years, in my time spent in prisons and institutions, I've come up against a lot of flash, big-headed, so-called hard cases who have scorned and ridiculed people who believe in prayer. I've always put this down to their own ignorance, because some of the greatest people in the history of the world have believed in the power of prayer. People like Winston Churchill, Lawrence of Arabia, Gordon of Khartoum, Admiral Nelson and John Brown, who helped free the slaves, and great men I have known personally have believed in the power of God, including two heavyweights boxing champions of the world, Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali. And many leading men in the mafia have also been great believers. I know this because they have told me. Our parents also encouraged us to be kind to animals. We kept chickens in the backyard, and just after we started school, we had a little mongrel dog which used to come and meet us from school. About the same time, me and Reg went to the cinema to see a film called Lassie the Sheepdog. We liked it so much that when we came home, we put olive oil on our mongrel's coat and brushed him till he shone. We changed his name to Lassie, I've always loved all animals, and I get furious at the stories I've heard saying that I am cruel to them. I would not like anyone to believe I would ever hurt or mistreat an animal. When me and Reg were young, we used to like to listen to the radio, and our favourite programmes were Dick Barton's Special Agent, Just William, and Force's Favourites. With our mother, we would also sit and listen to Mrs. Dale's Diary, which was about a doctor's family. The first school we went to was Wood Close School in Brick Lane, which was near to our home in Valence Road. There was a pub on the corner of Brick Lane, which we used to pass every day on our way to school. It was called the Carpenter's Arms, and many years later we bought this pub. We were happy at school, and also at Daniel Street School, where we went to later. We weren't brilliant, but we weren't dunces either. We were both good at sport and fighting. There were quite a few scraps, and the kids in our street used to have brick battles against gangs of kids from other streets, and it was a tough area. And they used to say that if you came from the East End, you finished up either a villain, a thief, or a fighter. Most people finished up one of those three things. Me and Reg had a pact. We decided we were going to be fighters and to try and make our names in the boxing ring, but if it didn't work out, we had made up our minds to be villains. There were some good fighters in our family. Our grandfather on our mother's side was called John Lee. He was also known as the Southpaw Cannonball because he could punch so hard, especially with his left hand. He lived over a cafe he owned on the other side of Valence Road. Even when he was an old man, he used to enjoy punching an old mattress slung over a clothesline in the backyard. When we were small, he used to put me and Reg on his knee and tell us stories about the East End and its great fighting men. Our heroes were always fighters. The greatest of them all was Ted Kid Lewis, who was champion of the world at 3 different weights. He grew up near our home in Valence Road, but even though he was a big name, he never forgot his roots and his old friends. We also admired the famous local villains, men like Jimmy Spinks, Timmy Hayes, Dodger Mullins and Russell Newman. They were like legends in the East End. Our family life was based around Valence Road. Our mother's 2 sisters lived in the 2 houses next to ours. They were Auntie Rose and Auntie May. I was very fond of them both, especially my Auntie Rose. She was as tough as any man, tougher than most. But with me, she was always very gentle. My Auntie Rose knew about things. One day at school, some kids had been taking the mickey out of me because my eyebrows seemed different to theirs. Mine seemed to go straight across the bridge of my nose without a gap in the middle. I came home from school and told my Auntie Rose what had happened. I asked her why my eyebrows were like that. She said to me, "It means you were born to hang, Ronnie Love." That was one thing the film about us, the Krays, got right. But they got a lot of things wrong. They made them up. And I have not been allowed to see the film in Broadmoor, but other people have told me exactly what was in it. The film was released in 1990 and it was very successful. It was a big hit, they tell me, in America. But like I say, they got many things wrong. There is a scene with me and Reg talking to my Auntie Rose about a dream we have had, about a bird with no wings which flies up into the sun. This never happened. In another scene, a teacher asks me to give him a wonderful word, and I say to him, "Crocodile." This also never happened. Neither did we ever shoot up a pub with machine guns. These things did not happen, but because it is in a film, some people believe it. What they never touched on in the film was the event which changed all our lives. The Second World War. For a start, our father wasn't around. He was called up and ordered to report to the Tower of London, but our father wasn't having any of that. So he went on the trot, and he was on the run from the army for the next 12 years. It's a funny thing, but when he and all the absconders got their amnesty from the Queen, me and Reg were on the run from the army ourselves. With our father away, life was very hard for our mother. A lot of the time he was away, he spent at the house of a friend of his in South London, a pickpocket called Bob Rolfe. And we would go and see him sometimes with our mother and take him clean clothes and food. And sometimes he would come home for a day or two. And before he left, he would send me and Reg down to the corner shop to make sure there were no police around. And once when he was at Valence Road, the police came. He was hiding in the coal cellar. And one of the policemen was going to open the door leading down to it. I said to him, "Our dad is not a fool. He wouldn't hide down there, would he?" And the policeman shrugged his shoulders and turned away. But the police made us hate them in those times. They were always coming round to our house, banging on the door in the early hours of the morning, waking everybody up, looking for our father. But they never found him. I hated the police, and I hated Hitler and the Germans. They destroyed 10,000 houses in Bethnal Green alone, and they killed and injured hundreds of innocent people. Once a bomb fell underneath the railway arch, halfway down Valence Road, and as it exploded, it demolished a block of flats. Our own house shook and things went flying. Me and Reg were thrown out of our beds. A lot of people were killed and some were trapped underneath the rubble. I can remember the firemen and the rescuers tearing at the bricks and mortar with their bare hands trying to get people out. The war was exciting for me. I can remember the glare of the big searchlights looking for German bombers, for dogfights in the sky, the explosions, the fires. Our mother used to tell us to pray for the war to end. I was praying for Hitler to get smashed by a bus, but our mother told me it was wrong to pray for things like that, even though Hitler was a bad man. When the air raid siren went off, our mother would grab me and Reg and our brother Charlie and take us to the air raid shelter under the viaduct. It was nice in there with fires going and everyone was friendly. Our grandfather John Lee used to put on a show on a little wooden stage. He would lick a white hot poker and balance on a pile of bottles, which he placed on top of one another to form a sort of glass wall. And there was dancing and music and singing, and every time a train passed over the top of the viaduct, the whole place would shake and fill with black smoke. For a time, we were evacuated to a farm out in the country at Hadley in Suffolk. We loved it, me and Reg, running in the fields, breathing in the air and seeing the animals. Our mother didn't like it so much away from the East End, but me and Reg, we liked the country. When we are free again, we both want to live in the country. In the 60s, we bought a nice house at Bilderston, which is a village only about 4 miles from Hadley. We gave the house to our mother, but she had to sell it when we were put away and the money started to run out. It was a pity because it is worth a lot of money today. Funny enough, someone sent my wife an estate agent's particulars recently, advertising a house they were selling at Bilderston. There was a photograph of the house on the front. Yes, it was the Brooks, the house that me and Reg used to own. This is how they described it. A substantial Victorian country house, enjoying a secluded village setting, 5 beds, 2 baths, full central heating, double glazing and annex cottage, stabling and storage room, pool, gardens, paddock. Offers invited in the region of £295,000 freehold. Looking at the photograph brought back some nice memories. It would have been a good place for me and Reg to retire to. And we both love Suffolk. When we went back to London, we used to make some money by selling firewood. Some days we would get up very early and go out with our uncle, Joe Lee, our mother's brother, to Billingsgate Fish Market where he worked. He used to turn up outside our house at 4 a.m. with his cart pulled by Shire horses. Some days we would go on a pony and trap with a man called Harry Hopwood. Harry Hopwood was a friend of our father. He used to sit us on his knee and try and get us to drink from a bottle of brown ale. He seemed a good man, but he turned against us later. Years later, he was a prosecution witness against us, and he died an alcoholic. Maybe he turned to the drink because he had bad things on his conscience.
for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.
Leave a like and subscribe.